Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services.
They're not supposed to be smiling and clapping, just so you know. That was President Trump talking about U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and he did it right in front of him. And we just watched that together because Pete's in studio. The Secretary of Defense,
good to see you.
Great to see you.
Great to see
What a start you've had. What did that feel like to have the president talk about the one thing you always focused on? Let's build up the military. Let's find out about what's going on wrong with recruitment. And he says there's already a difference in 7 weeks.
Well, the brave men and women of America have stepped right up. When they see who their commander-in-chief is, what his focus is, back to basics, warfighting standards, accountability, and readiness, they're ready to raise their right hand and join the U.S. military. And from the Marine Corps to the Army to the Air Force to the Navy, we've seen record numbers across the country of Americans saying, I want to serve under the commander-in-chief, President Trump. So it was a cool moment to hear him announce that there. The military has responded. It's a renaissance in the Pentagon, for sure. And it was a historic night. The president gave a historic, strong America First speech, and it was surreal to be right in the front row.
And before I go into the issues, just for you personally, to walk down that aisle as a member of his cabinet and to sit in that front row, we all watched it and covered it the next day. But what was it like for you?
You're right. Hegseth. We've watched it. It was an honor. You know, and I don't mean to deflect, but it's even more of an honor to have a front row seat to watching him be president of the United States in the Oval Office on an almost daily basis, making decisions about what we're going to focus on, what we're going to prioritize, how we're going to bring peace. His commitment to following through on his campaign promises is historic. So nothing surprised me about what he delivered last night, and I was proud to be there.
So you're going to go, after this, you're going to go to the border with the vice president. You're also bringing more troops to the border. The numbers are staggering. Your thoughts about what is the mission right now? Is it down to zero?
Almost, not quite to zero yet. 97% drop, Brian. Historic lows of crossings. The deterrent effect is there. We've brought in the military alongside Tom Homan and Secretary
Look at those numbers.
Oh, it's his 98.8%. I mean, we're talking gotaways in the single digits, Brian. President Trump gave us a charge. 100% operational control of the southern border. Border security is national security. Over 20 million people, as the president pointed out last night, poured in across our open border policy, which created recklessness, death, drugs for our communities. We're sending those folks home, and we're not letting more in. And you're seeing that right now.
Are you hearing that Mexico's cracking down, too? Because they evidently arrested 900 cartel members. They seem to be on the offensive on their southern border. Are you seeing enough cooperation?
I mean, my message to Mexican leaders and Mexican military leaders has been, we want to cooperate with you, and we will cooperate with you. But if you don't police up the cartels on your side of the border, then we'll be forced to do it for you. We don't want to do that. So right now, we have historic cooperation, military to military, but we're letting them lead. It's their country. It's their fight. We want them to lead that fight. So far, they have stepped up, which is a very good sign.
If we hear about ISIS or al-Qaeda leaders anywhere, we're taking them out. If the cartels are now a terror group, we look at them as a terror group, will we take them out just like they're in Yemen, just like they're in Sudan, just like they're in Syria?
I mean, Brian, you heard the president of the United States last night, just like I did. They're a designated foreign terrorist organization. We will not accept them controlling that border, poisoning our people with fentanyl, which those numbers have not gone down enough, which is why the president has continued tariffs on Mexico. So all options, as I've said, are on the table. We would prefer that the Mexican government handle it themselves, and we hope they do, and we're partnering with them to do so.
All right, let's change gears. As the speech wrapped up last night, this was posted by the Chinese embassy. Quote, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. As Secretary of Defense, how do you take that?
Well, we're prepared. Those who long for peace must prepare for war. That's why we're rebuilding our military. That's why we're reestablishing deterrence and the warrior ethos, is because we live in a dangerous world with powerful, ascendant countries with very different ideologies. You mentioned defense spending. They're rapidly increasing their defense spending, modern technology. They want to supplant the United States. If we want to deter war with the Chinese or others, we have to be strong. And that president understands peace comes through strength. He also has a great relationship with that gentleman right there, too, Xi Jinping. So where we can partner, where we can cooperate to recognize that we don't want war with China, we don't seek that war, we will. And the president has sought historic peace and historic opportunities. But my job as the Secretary of Defense is to make sure we're ready. We need the defense spending, the capabilities, the weapons, and the posture in the Indo-Pacific, which is something we're very much focusing on.
China has said they're going to up their defense spending 7.2%. And that's supposedly with a struggling economy. We're getting mixed messages on that. As Secretary of Defense, you always want more money. Absolutely. At the same time, DOGE is in there cutting back and speeding up the systems, making it more efficient. How much money are you asking for when you talk to the president or when you talk to the Treasury Secretary in this budget? How much more do we need? Because we watched it, the defense spending was not even keeping up with inflation over the last 4 years.
My message has been I'm both a fiscal hawk and a defense hawk, and I think America First represents both with peace through strength. So DOGE is going to cut fat where we need to, and we're going to reprioritize on the right things. So it's not about a fixed dollar amount, Brian. It's about addressing the president's priorities: Golden Dome, southern border, modernization, hypersonics, UUVs, UAVs, the fight of the future against China. They know we're serious, and we're building for that.
So let's talk about the big announcement yesterday. The mastermind behind the Abbey Gate bombing that injured so many and killed 13. Captured, is coming here. Special thanks to Pakistan. What could you tell us?
Well, special thanks to Pakistan, indeed. They cooperated with us. But this started, I want to be very clear, under this administration. We had our leadership, Director Radcliffe and others in CENTCOM and in the military, passing information to the Pakistanis who helped us action it after this president was elected. So this is a president who saw what happened, the debacle in Afghanistan, and said, when I'm president, I will make sure those held accountable, those who perpetrated the death of 13 Americans and the injury of dozens others, we will find them. We will keep our word. We partnered with the Pakistanis based on intelligence we provided. They nabbed him, positively identified him. We've known that for a few days. He's on his way, I believe, already in the United States and will face justice. You see, what did the Biden administration done? So it happened, and they wiped their hands of it and said it's the best airlift in American history. We're not going to hunt these guys down. President Trump never forgot. And he delivered at the State of the Union.
And you're doing an investigation, your own investigation into what went into the decision to evacuate that way in Afghanistan?
Because, Brian, no one was held accountable. It was one of the biggest disasters in American history, an embarrassment, a black eye to our country. We handed over billions of dollars equipment to the Taliban. We counted on them for our security, and then we got people killed. We gave away Bagram Air Base, and no one in military leadership was fired? Nuh-uh. That's not going to sail under President Trump. So we're doing a full review and investigation of what happened in Afghanistan. Those who were involved and made the decisions that put our troops at risk will be held accountable. I've stated that before, and we're continuing to be committed to it.
Just real quick, J.D. Vance was misinterpreted perhaps when he said 20,000 soldiers helping out Ukraine who haven't fought a war in 20 years is not going to be helpful. And the UK said that looks like you're putting us down as fighters, and that's making a lot of international news. You fought with the British. You've told me before you have great respect for them as fighters.
J.D. Vance is an incredible vice president. He's just been fantastic. And he's said what I've said, which is NATO needs to step up, whether it's the French or the British or others who we've fought with in certain conflicts. And I have served in Afghanistan with great British soldiers. The question is, will their government step up and provide that security guarantee with European troops?
Right.
The vice president recognizes the necessity of that, as do I, and we're hoping they will step up.
Mr. Secretary, I know, thanks for your first stop en route to the border.
It's good to see you, brother.
The only guy, the one secretary I know that can handle early morning hours. Thanks. Great to see you. Congratulations
Say
again.
hi to everybody in New York.
I know, and we miss you a lot, but you're doing a great job.